What's up YouTube, it's Jarrett with Bluegrass State RC. In this video I'm going to go over some quick tips that may help prevent landings such as and hopefully get you closer to something along these lines. So real quick, I'd like to just go over the inspiration for me making this video. This is Mr. Jonathan Dill, also known as Dill Pickle. Jonathan has had a pretty good experience trying to learn how to land these EDFs. He's been the butt of some jokes.
Matt, don't think. Just do.
But being the trooper that Dill is, he keeps coming out and he keeps getting better and he's taking advice and he's doing so much better now. He's been going home without any busted or broken planes, which is just awesome. So kudos to Dill for being an absolute trooper through his journey here, and I'm super excited to see how he progresses from here. Alright, so coming right at you with tip number one, that's going to be to lower the approach. So we're going to see here momentarily, this E-flite Viper 90 has about 50 to 75 feet of altitude above the runway here. Now, we do have a pretty long runway in this case, so it doesn't bite him as hard as it could, but at this altitude, he's going to be nosing down, maintaining a lot of airspeed, and the jet's going to fly right past the pilot here, so he's going to end up making his landing attempt way further down the runway than he would have liked to. It's going to result in a little bit of a bouncing landing because he can't gauge the flare. The good news is, however, that this is easily remedied. All you need to do is build up confidence and be comfortable flying closer to the ground. So as you can see here, this is a pretty good approach, maybe 5 to 10 feet of altitude off the end of the runway. Everything's looking good. Now, I can't pick on everybody else and not showcase one of my own bad landings, but in this instance, I lost way too much airspeed way too fast and ended up stalling right as I was about to land. So got a little too greedy with this one. Alright, so tip number two kind of goes hand in hand with number one. It is going to be a stable approach. So in this example, we've got Dill flying the F-86 Sabre, and his approach is much too high, and that's going to cause some instability on the pitch axis. So he's going to be applying elevator input, both nosing the aircraft down, as you can see here, to try and lose that altitude, which is going to maintain airspeed as well, which isn't great in this case because he is already over the runway. So his dancing of the elevator here is going to bite him as he gets a little bit closer to the ground. It's just not very stable. You're going to see his flare is much too early. Now, Dill has done this before and flipped this plane on its head, so he learned his lesson the last time. But that flare, he's still way too high up, so he punches out and does a go around. And that's going to lead us right into tip number three, and that is going to be, do not be afraid to go around. Not every approach is going to be perfect. If you feel like you're too high, too fast, running out of runway, just punch the throttle, pull back on the stick slightly, climb out, go around, try again. Alright, so tip number four is proper aircraft setup. Now, this is not one size fits all. In this example, we have a Viper 90 that's a little bit on the nose heavy side, which is going to increase the landing speed and decrease the tail authority. On the flip side of that, tail heavy can become wildly unstable. So with this particular aircraft, you're looking for more of a neutral CG to slightly nose heavy, but anything grossly nose heavy will typically result in very high landing speeds and can be pretty difficult. So aside from center of gravity, your throws, I highly recommend max rates or high rates, whatever you have set as your highest rate, as your landing rate. So it's always better to have the throw and not need it than to need it and not have it. Okay, before getting to the fifth and final tip, some of you might be wondering, well, we've talked about everything after final, how about before that? So I'm just going to show you a basic landing pattern that I would do for a sport jet. So that was a gear pass just over the runway, so now I'm on the downwind leg. I'm going to apply my flaps. Improper setup there, had the plane ballooning a little bit, but no big deal. So I will go at a nose down attitude into my base turn here, maintaining throttle, losing some altitude. Final, I'll add a little bit of rudder to go ahead and bring it around there. So as you can see, I'm at a pretty low altitude on this approach. You'll notice the throttle will start going out completely as the altitude gets very, very close to the runway. And then just hold elevator to really slow it down and bring that flare in. Alright, for tip number 5, no two jets are the same. Just because you've been cutting throttle on base with a Habu and gliding into a perfect landing means you can do the same with the F-16. So just keep that in mind. Different jets have different requirements. So just keep that in mind whenever you're flying different model aircraft. They're all going to have their own tendencies and requirements. Thanks for watching, and remember there's always room for error.